What's up, guys? Back at it again with another episode of the What's Bothering You Today podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Vaughn. And if this is your first time tuning in, we just talk about, hey, what's bothering us today? You know, it could be anywhere from, some major thing that's affecting the nation to that little small thing that only affects you, So we try to have fun here. We have our serious moments, and then we have our moments where we're just cracking up. So I hope you enjoy this content. And for those of you that, you're coming back, you've already been subscribed and you've been rocking with me. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much. So many people have been reaching out to me and letting me know that they've been enjoying the content, and that goes so far with me. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot, any like, any share, any comments, anytime, you tune in, that means the world to me. And just for people to tell me that they've been enjoying this content, that just makes my day, just puts this huge smile on my face. I was supposed to have a guest today, but as you guys know from it might have been last episode, I was sick a few episodes ago, and here this past weekend, some of my symptoms started coming back. And I was just like, oh man, do we got COVID all over again? Because you would think, if you just had COVID 2 weeks ago, you shouldn't get it again. So Sunday morning, I ended up going to the emergency room just to kind of figure out what's going on. Because, I have a history of lung issues and things like that. So I just want to keep things, just be cautious. So I went to the emergency room. They swabbed me. Flu and COVID came back negative. Thank God. So they kind of treated me for bronchitis, basically. I didn't have bronchitis, but they kind of treated those symptoms and stuff like that. So I have a little bit of cough still and just a whole bunch of things, but I'm better today. I feel a lot better than I did yesterday. And we're going to get this episode recorded. I have a session here in just a few minutes, in like 45 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. I didn't have a whole lot planned, so you had to bear with me. Oh, also, got to do this part too. The sponsor of today's video is Called to His Purpose. I have one of their shirts on right now, Called to His Purpose. You can visit their website, Called to His Purpose Apparel, and pick up some shirts. They had some short sets as well. You can just hop on that website, just check them out. Their anchor scripture is Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to His purpose. So called to His purpose, So, but yeah, if you want to check them out, go over to their website, check them out, and tell them Texarkana Podcast Studio sent you. All right, so let's get right into the episode. So the thing that I wanted to talk about, the thing that's been bothering me today, this has affected me. This has affected people around me. I've seen people online that this has affected. Of course, with my business, I've seen people affected by this as well. And it's letting the start stop you. Sometimes people get not even into the thick of it. They'll do a little bit of research and they'll figure out what all it takes to start a thing. And they'll just get super overwhelmed. They'll just say, that's too much, or I'm not capable of doing that, or I need this, I need that to get started. I need the latest and greatest. This person has that. This person is using this equipment, blah, 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 blah. And they wait, or they try to wait for the perfect moment, but the perfect moment never comes. So they never end up starting. They never end up doing that thing, that they were meant to do. And if they had just started with what they had and, just kind of worked and build up the things that they need, or the experience, saved up for the equipment, and just kept going, by that time that you felt that, you kind of start feeling more comfortable, and you like that confidence starts to exude from you, you kind of realize, okay, I'm glad that I started, because now I'm getting all the mess ups out the way. I'm building up my reps. I feel comfortable now. If I had waited, I would have just been starting at ground zero now instead of starting way back when and getting more comfortable. Cause like people think that it takes the latest and greatest equipment when the most important thing is the content, the quality of the content, and not the quality of like your video or your mic or anything. Like, don't get me wrong, those things are important, but people will stay if they like you and if they like your content over anything else. So a lot of, especially in my line of work with my podcasting studio, a lot of people will say, I'll ask, why haven't you started? Or why don't you just start? Well, I don't have the cameras that you have. I don't have the mics that you have. I don't have the space that you have. But you don't need any of that. You can start a podcast with your cell phone. Most people in the world have smartphones now. All you have to do is pull up your smartphone, get you a little tripod if you can afford a tripod, sit it up against something, and you sit in front of it. Make sure that you can see yourself or whatever, and you just record. You just press the record button and record. Start right there. Start, where you're at. You can't be focused on, a lot of people compare their day one to somebody's year 10, and they've put in the reps. They've messed up. They've got that first video out the way, or that first step out of the way. Yours is not going to look anywhere near what their stuff is right now. But that's not to say that you can't. That's not to say that you can't build up to that level. That's not to say that you can't learn the skills, but it takes time. What do they always say? Rome wasn't built in a day, or Rome wasn't built in a night. It's not going to happen overnight. Don't get me wrong. Some people have overnight success, but they put in those reps. Because if they didn't put in that rep, if they didn't start, there's no possibility of them even, it even happening overnight. They did something for that to happen. They put in the reps and they kept going and they were persistent and all that stuff. What do they always say? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So you got to take that step one. That step one is so important because, like I said, a lot of people just let that. For most people, the hardest thing is that step one. Once they take that step one and that step two they stumble into that step two and then to that step three and they just kind of start going. It's just a snowball effect. But the hardest part for most people is just starting. And so I know it's easier said than done, because this is the second part of it. Excuses are so valid because if they weren't valid, they wouldn't really be an excuse. Like I said, you not having the equipment, I get it. Your quality of your video isn't going to be, top tier. You don't have the funds to buy the mics or the other equipment, the other, the extra bells and whistles. That's valid, and I get it. Sometimes the excuse is I'm just not ready. Okay. I don't have the time. Okay. I get it. But at the same time, if it's something that you really want to do, you'll make time. If it's something that you want to do, you'll make it a priority. If it's something that you want to do, you'll figure out a way. If it's something that you want to do, you'll search up workarounds to find a way to make it happen. Because if we really want to do a thing, if we really set our mind to something, we can accomplish it. We'll do it. We'll find a way. It might not look how we imagined it, but we'll find a way to make it happen. And then over time, you can build the reps and you can learn, you can get better until it becomes the way you envisioned it. But first, you have to take that first step. First, you have to move forward. And as I was saying, excuses, they're so valid. They're so valid. There's so many excuses that you can make about a thing. And I think that's the toughest part about it, about an excuse is how valid it is how much it makes sense, how, it's understandable. I get it. But at the same time, if you really want a thing, you can you'll find a way. There's some people out there that you can reach out to that can help you. If you don't know a skill, there's somebody that you can reach out to that can teach you. Or if you don't have the money, there's, you can either start where you are, start with what you have. A lot of the videos I always watch, they always say the best camera is the one that you already have. The best equipment is what you already have. The best knowledge is what you already have. So start where you are and build and stack, build those reps and get stronger and just continue to move forward. Just one step after the other. Like, don't focus on a month from now. Don't even really focus on next week, especially if that's going to cause you to stumble. Focus on the next step, and then the next step, and the next step. And one day you're going to wake up and look back and you're going to be like, oh man, look how far I've come. Look where I started and I'm here now. One of the things I always like to tell people is baby steps into giant strides. A bunch of steps. What was it? The book that I was reading, Atomic Habits, is building up little bitty habits, just little tiny habits. And those habits end up kind of compounding into bigger habits. Like, they all kind of work together and push you in the direction that that you're wanting to go. But you have to break it down first and make the giant problem something small, something achievable, something attainable. Because the big picture sometimes overwhelms some of us. So if you just kind of chop it up and focus on this part, and then you focus on the next part. Or one of the ways I like to do it is I'll focus on the easiest high priority issue, because if you focus on something that's kind of on the higher priority side, or if you focus on something that's kind of important, you feel so much more accomplished when you knock that out, and you kind of have more wind build up. You kind of have more steam when you go into the next thing, and then you knock that out. Now I'm confident I can do this. I've made progress. Let's go to the next one, So you just got to take it step by step. You have to take it step by step, and just keep going, keep moving forward, and believe in yourself. Surround yourself with individuals that believe in you as well, and they're to hold you accountable. Man, one of my issues with myself sometimes is holding myself accountable. So it's so amazing. It's so dope to have a wife that'll remind me what it is that I said that I was going to do. Sometimes you need somebody that's going to remind you what you said you was going to do. And she'll remind me, hey, Anthony, you said you was going to do this. Ah, dang, you right, baby. I did say I was going to do that. Because sometimes we'll forget. Sometimes life hits us so hard that we forget the things that we said that we were going to do, the dreams and the aspirations that we have. Life will hit you so hard, you start focusing on the wall that's in front of you. You start focusing on the obstacles, the things that you lost, and you forget that you said what you said you were going to become. You'll forget what that vision that you had of what's to come. You'll forget the skills that you've learned, what you've overcome already, the doors that you've walked through. You forget sometimes, and sometimes you just need somebody to remind you of where you've come from, how far you've come, how many steps that you've taken, the obstacles that you've overcome. It's so important with the people that you surround yourself with. So important. Sometimes, in some cases, it can make or break you. So it's important, especially your close knit circle. It's so important. You need people that's gonna push you higher and push you forward. You need people that's gonna reach out a hand and it's gonna, pull you along when you feel like you can't go anymore. And likewise, you need to be a person like that to somebody else as well, to those people as well. You need to stick out a helping hand. You need to push them forward. And, that kind of, especially when you do it for each other, when you reciprocate those feelings, the relationship gets stronger. Y'all kind of build on each other and y'all learn new things, and you'll be surprised. Like, you'll sit down one day and y'all will talk and you'll be like, man, you remember when we used to talk about this? And we live in that lifestyle now. You remember when we used to pray about this? We living in it. We walking in it right now. You remember how I asked God for that house? I'm living in it right now. You remember how I asked for that wife? man, I'm married to her now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But you got to take that first step. You have to take that first step. You can't let the start stop you. And as I said already, it's so much easier said than done. But regardless of that, you have to take it. You have to take that step. You have to put that first foot out and lean on it into that next step. You have to. If it's something that you really want to do, if it's something that you really see yourself doing, if it's something that, you got that vision and it's really laid on your heart, it's really been weighing on your heart, you have to. You have to. Because if you don't, somebody else will. And then you'll be frustrated. You'll be frustrated because somebody else is doing the thing that you thought of years ago, except they are actually walking in it. They actually took that first step. Because in some cases, the people that ended up becoming famous aren't even the best at what they do. They're the people that actually took that step. They're the people that actually started and built up the reputation and kept going and didn't let the start stop them. Sometimes all you have to do is start, and then everything else kind of just falls together. It's like, take that leap of faith. Just take the leap. Do your research, study as much as you can, figure it out what it is that you need to do. But once you figure out those things, you got to be careful with that research, because sometimes research makes it worse. It can help, but just don't let it overwhelm you. Don't let it, take the wind out of your sails. Don't let it become a mountain that you feel like, you can't get around. You got to start. You got to start, or you won't ever get there. You won't ever reach the end if you don't start the journey. And that's my little rant for today. It was just something that was really bothering me. How a lot of people just, they just let the start stop them from starting, from, accomplishing that thing. 'Cause there's some people out there that, they have that potential. You can see it in them. You can see what they can become, and the voice that they have, the way they articulate things, the way they look at the world, the way they, think about a thing and solve a thing. And you're like, oh man, you're so incredible. You can do this. But it's almost like there's something, on their shoulder that's just telling them, you're not good enough. You don't have the skill set. You haven't put in the reps. If you start now, your stuff not going to look like theirs. Comparison is the thief of joy. When you start comparing yourself to other people and what they have and what they doing and what they got going on, you stop focusing on what you got and what you have and what you got going on. You start looking at their stuff and you like, oh man, they so much further along than I am. How do what am I doing? Like I started so late, I should have been doing this. I shouldn't have gave up. I shouldn't have stopped back then. But no, you right where you're supposed to be. You just gotta focus on you. Like it's okay to look out there and see what other people got, but use that as motivation. Don't compare it to you and what you got and what you're doing. Use it as motivation. Like use it as, okay, so that's what's out there. So that's what I have to look forward to. That's what I can achieve. Or you can look at it as like, I'm gonna be better than that. I'm all for some healthy competition. I'm super competitive. I'm all for some healthy competition. I love it. And I try to be competitive with my friends. And, to me, competition is fun. You might get a little mad and a little upset, when you lose or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're going to be like, oh, man, good job. You did good, bro. I'm going to get you next time. You know what I'm saying? And that motivates each of us to do better, to get better, to, work at it, to continue to take another step. We don't look at it like, oh man, he better than me. Nah, I'm gonna beat you next time. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I just want to say thank you guys, especially everybody that stuck around for this long. This was just a little mini episode. and I'm going to try to get a guest in. I'm just trying to make sure that my health is good, but I also want to be consistent for you guys. That's one of the things that when before I started back, I wanted to make sure that I was consistent, and that's why I've started doing these solo episodes, because I don't want to always have to rely on a guest and, lining up those schedules. And then when it doesn't line up, I don't have an episode for the week. So no, I want to make sure that I am consistent, and I want to actually get ahead on my episodes as well. So I'm working on it, guys. And just thank you for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with me. If you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me something that's bothering you. If you're listening on your favorite platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, or anything like that, leave us a 5-star. Give us 5 stars so that it pushes us out in the algorithm. You have no idea how much that helps us. So that would be greatly appreciated. So once again, I'm your host, Anthony Vaughn, and this is the What's Bothering You Today podcast. And keep thinking about it. What's bothering you today? Peace.